this is just a very general view on the process of how to make a simple, quick illustration like this, but hopefully it'll be enough to give you some tips about it. So first of all, as you can see, I go through the inking phase. In this case, I will only ink the character, the background will be done directly in color. So I get a lot of questions about what kind of brush do I use and how to get a better inking. The brush I use very often lately is called Yeti Rough Brush. I'll type it on the screen for you. And about getting better at inking, I think inking is one of those things that just needs daily practice. As you can see, what I do is just very quick strokes with a lot of energy. I try not to, I don't have a vibrant line. I just do really energetic and really, let's say, straight lines, and I keep connecting one with the other. So there's no more science about it. It's just practice, practice, practice. So as you can see, I almost don't use stains of black here. I just use line, because particularly in this style, what I'm gonna do is use the clear line to put all the shading just using color. Okay, here I'm starting to do the flats. Flats are interesting because more than a system of working here, what I start to do is to put colors that are all in the same range of values, and I'll explain this with a still image here too. As you can see, I'm using layers here to separate different colors, and here I'm gonna go for a bit more of inking because I decided I wanted to include the frog and also these objects on the inking too. But the flat colors are all in middle range, because what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna use the overlay and the multiply effect to include some lights and shadows. As I said, the background will be entirely done in color shapes. Just adding the flat color for the backpack and the frog. There's no texture on the color, again mid-range color, not too dark, not too light. And here I go with the background. Just very flat colors, just using one layer for every color. And here I'm using a different layer too for the rooftop, because I want to paint and put some texture later on underneath. So constantly, like what practice makes here is that I have a lot of experience about what I'm gonna do next, so I can predict. And here I had very little time to do this illustration because I have very tight deadline, so I simply reused the buildings from another background I know it's a bit tricky, I shouldn't do it, but here it is. Also, as you will see later on, I will use a Gaussian blur on the background, so it will not be too obvious. So let me stop here for a second. What I'm doing here, as you can see, the colors on the character have changed a lot, and this is basically because what I did, I included a layer with a multiply effect and this purple color that helped me a lot to integrate these on the background. And what I'm doing here, because the first term will be too dark, what I decided to do is to add this blue light coming from the video game thing on the face of the character that will help me a lot to focus the sight of the viewer on her face. So here I'm using color in this particular way because first thing I want the public to notice is the face of the character. So I'm including a color that is kind of out of the color range I'm using. If you notice, I used very warm colors for the background, and then I used this coal green for the rooftop. I'm using the blue on her face because it's a color that is slightly out of range, and that I'm sure it will get a lot of attention from the public on the face of the character. And this is exactly what we want. We want the public we want to guide their view through the illustration. Here we go again. As you can see, I'm starting to include rim lights. I have very clear here what's the primary source of light. There's a very powerful source of light behind the characters. So the consequence of that is that the first term will be dark. That's why I'm using secondary source of light to put some light on the characters. I tried to include some clouds here, then I noticed it was a bit too much, so I got rid of most of it and I just left some of it in the horizon. And here what I did, I included these stripes on the legs of the character because I noticed that these black stain, it was getting a bit confusing, so these really helped me to explain the shaping here. I'm starting to work on the background and the rooftop and adding some light effects. Let's stop a second here too. I included some texture on the rooftop, but it looks too artificial. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna paint on top of this texture that I put here because I want to get that organic look. And also with the background, I used an effect on a layer with a very bright red light color on top of it because I really wanted the sunset effect to be very, very strong. So I included this effect on top. And here we go again. You see, I'm still working on the background a bit more. You'll see I'll start painting soon. There it is. I'm including some. I want these to be slightly shiny, so that's why I included these very high contrast lights on it. And now I'm painting on the top of texture, so it will not look that artificial anymore. You see the background with the buildings. It's very secondary, so I blurred it. I don't want to get any attention there. It's a very, very simple illustration. And here I'm adding some secondary lights on the character just to finish. I wanted to put some more detail on it, but as I said, I don't have a lot of time here to spend on this illustration, so I want to be efficient and quick. I included some effects on top, some sort of rain effects, just trying, but I don't want to distract the attention from the character. And that's pretty much it. Hope you liked the video and stay tuned for more. I'm just finishing the Dungeons and Dragons Gumroad. It's taking a while, but I'm putting a lot of work on it, so thank you for your patience and I'll keep you informed. Cheers.